Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio is somebody that I really think really adds a whole lot of style and feel and flair. And I'm sure that none of these adjectives would be anything they'd be throwing in like, all right, I ain't even thinking that. But coolness to the mix of it as well. And if you have really been connected in anything happening in a movement of spoken word artists, poets, writers, and really that's even growing into like films, documentaries, events, and even today it's like events with dignitaries and more, then you definitely know what can carry through some great artistry. T. Miller.
I am really happy to be here.
Definitely. Definitely. We were getting into a little bit of background and everything, but we're going to start with the classic Detroit is Different question. And then I'm going to go straight to a question that it was like, it had you stand out where it's like, this is different. But family background, how many generations in the city of Detroit?
Oh, man, my family background. I always laugh and joke with my friends, my partner, everybody. I think I have the most amount of cousins out of any single person in Detroit. And this is like no lie. We had a funeral probably like 2-3 months ago. And in the funeral, it was like 300 people. Literally. And I'm like, and that wasn't even half the family.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, we have so many cousins that we don't even call each other by name. We just say like, hey, cousin, but they're all like blood cousins.
This isn't like the colloquial, that's my cousin
No.
they grew up down the street.
This ain't the Detroit cousin. This is like, this is really your blood cousin. And my grandmother, you know, like, Lord, like, bless and rest her soul, she had 12 kids.
Wow.
She had 6 boys and 6 girls.
Oh, man.
Same mother, same father.
Wow.
So our roots run very, very deep in Detroit, but my family is originally from Highland Park. So the house that is featured in the film 8 Mile, it's like an abandoned lot.
Yeah.
My grandmother actually owned that house, and it was 14 bedrooms.
You know what's so funny about that? Like this year, one of my clients that we do client services too, but Solidarity, they installed streetlights on a block in Highland Park. And one of the people that was working with us, like in that, like for some of the production said, hey, you know that was a house that was in 8 Mile because Hex Murder used to do a lot of stuff in and out of there. And I'm like, huh? And it's just in the back of my mind. And now that you said it, I'm like, I know exactly where that is.
It was in on Bidsford, in Highland Park. And honestly, like even like growing up in that era, and I was like a kid. My grandfather ended up passing away. He used to work at the plant. He passed away from cancer. So my grandmother had to just like, you know, hold the house down. But she had no lights and no water.
Wow.
So we actually ran electricity from the house that was next door.
Yep.
And then my uncle lived across the street. He had kind of grew up, moved out. And we would have to get water from his house to flush the toilets at her house. But again, this is a 14-bedroom house that's always dark. We was using the oven just to have heat in the house. But when I say like the roots in Detroit is, if I run into somebody at the gas station, it's like, what's up, cousin? It's like, that's my actual cousin. And we have a really close family too. Like, we all party together. We're not the family that gets together and then, like, somebody had a fight at the end of the night, or, like, we don't really fall out. We, like, it's very, like, we call my aunties and my mom, like, the Golden Girls. So, yeah, my family, they've been here.
Y'all thick.
Forever. We are... I am not the person you want to get into it with.
Hilarious.
Because I can call a cousin at any time. My cousins, they used to laugh and joke. They'd be like, you know what? You talk a lot of trash. Because I do. Like, it's a part of, like, my persona, my performance. Also, I just like talking shit. And they're like, the reason you do this is because you know you'll always be backed up. It's like, I can talk the most shit in the world. And I'm like, cousin, come do this. Which I really don't go that far. But, yeah, we are on every side of Detroit.
Wow.
Our roots are here. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And of other artists. And she's like, don't say that. I love this is a horrible impersonation of Sydney James, but I love Sydney. We love you. But like I told her, I was like, yeah, you so Detroit, you Highland Park. And she was like, don't say that. Highland Parkers hate that. But
Oh,
for people that don't know, and I always uplift this, inside of the city of Detroit are two other cities. It's
yeah.
Hamtramck and Highland Park.
Yeah.
And Highland Park, as I often uplift, like, this is a long time ago, not current New York, but the first time I went to Harlem was in the 90s. And I was like, damn, it's like a big ass Highland Park. So
Yeah,
imagine
it is.
just blackness.
I mean, black excellence. When Highland Park was thriving, it was thriving. Like, it's kind of, sad to kind of roll through it right now and see, like, the dilapidated homes and, like, the, buildings. But there is some motion happening in Highland Park as well right now. Like,
very much so.
Yeah. Like, when I bought my house in Detroit, Brent kind of told me, Blacksmith, like, they're going to branch out to Highland Park. Like, that is coming next. I
mean, everything Shoe is doing, what's happening with Avalon Village, but not just Shoe, it's just a lot of other pockets. But for people that just understand, and I've uplifted, my Coco interview talked a lot about the community college, like in the 80s, as I always say, like the Highland Park High School in the 80s was like one of the premier high schools
all my family ran through it. Yeah.
The Polar Bears.
I ended up doing, so two things. One, I did a show which connects to the show that I did today with the governor and RX Kids.
Okay.
I did a show in Highland Park. My friend Rudy Francisco, who's a really famous poet, he always comes out and do shows in my living room. But he booked the Highland Room to do his own show.
Okay.
And I ended up opening up for him. And when I opened up for him, Dr. Mona, who is the founder of RX Kids in Flint that just came to Detroit, she saw me there, which was like a surprise because people started to like see me out in Detroit and they were like, you live here? Like, we had no idea. So then she wanted me to perform at the parade for RX Kids, but then we ended up having RX Kids open up here in Detroit, which the launch was today. So she reached back out to have me open up. But you have spaces like the Highland Room. So I'm doing a show there March 7th with LaShawn Phoenix Moore, Mahogany Jones, Tara, like Hardy, like a bunch of like dope artists. But the Highland Room in places like that, it's a testament to like what's happening in Detroit. And the second story is when I did my first commercial with Shinola, which was the first one they put up on CNN, I did this poem and there was this woman that was sitting next to me and I was reading the poem to her, older woman, and come to find out, she taught my cousins in Highland Park High School.
Wow.
So my first job was in Highland Park at the KFC off of Davison, like which wasn't an official job.
Time out. That KFC is no longer open, but very colorful just even driving by.
Yeah, it's still My cousin, he worked there, and I was like 14. I was too young to work there, but I unofficially worked there with him. So yes, our like we're spread out across Detroit, but my whole family, Bisford, Davison, like they ran Highland Park. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Which kind of even goes like in that same family connection now hearing. I remember you were like, yo, I'm going to take in one of my family members. And I was like, damn, it's like, I'm thinking, I'm like, you never really hear this story from somebody so young. And you said like, yo, I'm going to let fam stand with me for a minute.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this. And I'm like, okay. This is like beyond adulthood, but now I got a little bit more context for a whole lot of that story, and really the relationships that already kind of existed from family.
Yeah, I mean, are we referring to my nephew? Yeah, yes. We have, like, I work at Michigan State, and nobody knows this, which is interesting because when people find out I have a job, they're like, "You got a job?" I'm like,
hilarious.
I've held down like Michigan State for like 10 years.
Hilarious.
But I'm the community engagement manager. But I always relate this line of work to the fact that I had so much community in my family. So when my brother passed away in 2012, it was just him and I, like same mother, same father. And I was always kind of raising my nephew. He was 5 at the time when my brother passed away. But my brother used to tell people, even the mother of his son, if anything ever happened to me, my sister is gonna take care of my son. And, at the same time when he passed away, my nephew's mother ended up doing a bid in prison. And she's out now, and we have a great relationship. But it was just natural. It was like we were all raised at our auntie houses. We were all raised with our uncles. We were all it really was no other choice but for me to step up and raise my nephew, which I wanted 8 kids at some point in my life. Then I got used to, like, traveling and touring and being, like, this person who had a spotlight on her in the world. So I thought I had gave up on the idea of having kids. And then I got a kid
Wow.
who's just like me, who I like. He's 17 now, who I love, and but it was so easy. It was not like, this is a burden. It was like, this is like what you're supposed to be doing. And also, it took a village to kinda, like, raise everybody in our family. Like, my family, we all had birthday parties together, and we all hung out together. Like, everything we did, there was, like, a sense of togetherness. So I couldn't imagine a world in which I would kinda leave my nephew to fend for himself.
And okay, and I wanna, like, frame this, because when that happens, as you say, like, 5, then so that's 12 years back. So this is like happening in a moment in time where I guess like I'm still a little bit more connected with hip hop artistry and everything, and like it's it's like a I want to say like it's like a setting of like a show and everything, and then they're like, oh yeah, T Miller go, and I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, it's like I'm feeling like okay, because it's all these other like rappers, poets, and comedians, like just
Yeah.
artists, like young artist energy, and like they're moving past that topic, and I'm like, we need to like put some money together, like 1 second, man. That's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not like, oh yeah, you know she gonna be in New York for like next weekend, so you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it like moved past. And I was like, okay, ever since then, I'm like, okay, I gotta really sit down and start paying a whole lot of more attention to anytime T Miller in the room, because stepping up at that, and I'm like, in a lot of ways, I mean, even today, it's like, you damn near look 12 now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I was, right? I appreciate it. You know what? At that stage when I had to take care of my nephew, I was already really blessed.
Mhm.
Um, I had just won Kresge. I was when I bought my house, I did 30 shows in a month of
Mm.
February.
Wow.
And these are all shows paying $3, $4, $5,000.
Mm.
And I was able to just take 1 month,
Mm.
put it down as like, the down payment for like the mortgage on my house.
Mhm.
I had already been to, Scotland, Ireland, Italy, Hawaii. Like it was so many things that had already kind of set me up for success when it came to me being able to say I can be a full-time parent.
Mhm.
And there were decisions before my brother passed away that I was kinda contemplating like,
Mm.
"Oh, maybe I wanna go and just, like, live in Hawaii, or maybe I just wanna go and live in Europe." But then in that space, I loved my nephew, and I love my nephew so much. We're,
Mhm.
like, best friends. It was really just like, I can't leave here. I
Mm.
even, took a step back from touring. It
Mhm.
was like, what are these other, ways in which you can, make revenue and make more by moving less.
Mm.
But parenting is a different thing, and I was at that point pretty much like I was single parenting, but I was also grieving a loss of my brother.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, even in
Yeah.
the mix of that, and then also, like, the family dynamics of just already what you've uplifted about how close your family is, but also his mother, and
Yeah.
it's no telling what their family's going through at this time.
Yeah.
It's multiple things that can really hit a person whatever age they are.
Yeah, it was a lot of things happening at once. So we're in the process right now. We started like a few years ago of working on this documentary that's called Raising Carlito.
Mm.
And it pretty much shows like the last almost like 10 years of his life. And it's through
Mm.
cell phone footage, through, like we sat down with Sabrina Nelson, who
Mm.
actually had a similar story to how Carlito was raised, did some interviews
Mhm.
with her, like, and and that just kind of talks about the dynamics of raising somebody or co-parenting with a mother who is in prison,
Mm.
but also co-parenting is different.
Yeah.
Because I live one life, you live another life.
Mhm.
We have to come together and figure out, like, how do we raise this kid together? You're grieving the loss of, the father of your kid. I'm grieving the loss of my brother. My nephew's grieving the loss of his son. I'm trying to figure out, what does life look like without me on the road? What does new relationships look like? Buying a house. So I think that if my nephew wasn't my nephew, it would probably be a lot harder than it sounds.
Mhm.
But I kind of was able to just raise him in a way to where he's pretty much just like me,
Wow.
in the good and the bad. But like
Mhm.
we've been homies since he was like 5.
Mm.
But it was challenging, to
Mhm.
say the least. When I reflect on it now, I'm like, you kind of gave up a lot. You made a lot of transitions. But I have no regrets about who I would be if I didn't have to take on that as a responsibility, because I'm still who I am, and it just put my life on a different path, because now I get to talk about parenting, and I get to talk about grief, and I get to, be in spaces like today with the RX kids and understand, like, what children need, what babies need, what parents need. But before I had to raise him, I was already at the height of my career. So I feel like I was in a position to be able to sit down and still have.
And it's unique that you even uh, offer that
Yeah.
perspective, and then it's like so many other dynamics in, like, as they say, like, I don't like this phrasing of it, but they usually say, so I'm gonna phrase it differently. But like, when you're young, you don't know what you don't know because you don't know it,
No.
right? So sometimes when you're young, you jump at things that probably upon more reflection as you get older, it's like, okay,
Mhm.
couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that for so many things. And I also am gonna completely tie this in culturally in this same snapshot of the movement of spoken word artistry in the city of Detroit has like strong roots as far as like where I know that definitely
Mhm.
go back to like Cafe Mahogany
Yeah.
and other places and spaces. But it was like a movement of so much energy around, like, I would say maybe like 2000 and let's say like 2009 to 2015
That's wild.
of a and when I say youthful, I don't mean youthful as far as an age, because it was,
Mhm.
Wardale would be some of these spots, and
Yeah.
Wardale is definitely an OG, but like more so like youthful energy getting into this mix, but like didn't know what they didn't know. So for a minute, even the relationships of like uh rappers, comedians, singers, like the movement of like how to go to a stage starts shifting in that time towards, if you want to go to a stage, chances are you're going to be going through a person you're going through poetry. You're
Yeah.
you're going through poetry. I mean, shout out to, I mean, she's no longer here, but Marsha Carter and everything
Love
she was
Martian.
doing,
Yeah.
and like they say in all these places, and
Yeah.
like all these spaces had like poetry nights, but these poetry nights were the gateway to like all forms of culture.
Yeah.
And it's almost like in that same arc of like whatever the restaurant, whatever the venue, museum,
Yeah.
stage, it was like,
Mhm.
yo, who hitting that stage?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it is directly correlated to youthfulness, right?
Mhm,
And not ignorance is bliss in a bad way.
mhm.
Because when you're young and you don't know, you're willing to take a lot of chances.
Yep.
Whereas you have so many stages that have already been set around the world, and I've been, involved in some scene around the world one way or another, New York, California, whatever it is. But there's already a blueprint laid out. So you feel like you have to follow that. In Detroit, there was no blueprint. It's just you have to be good and you have to be consistent. So I think that when I started to get into the world of poetry slam specifically, um, I kinda met one of my favorite people who was my mentor, and shouts out to Mahogany Brown, who I'm bringing out, April 9th to Detroit, to Michigan State, who is one of the most famous poets you'll ever have the chance of meeting. And one of her first pieces of advice to me was, "You need to network." And this was after my first, like, really big poetry slam.
Mm,
And then I found out, like, the art of actual networking. But one thing that I've always been good at is the business side. So for me, it was like, if you are making a decision to be a professional poet, you need to also make money in that decision. So even when you talk about this exploratory idea of the poetry shows being an avenue to so many things, like, Josh Adams used to come to my Thursday nights at Hunter Supper Club every Thursday.
Yeah.
Clayton Thomas, like one
Yeah.
of the homies that was like, they all kind of started on that stage. Their talent is their talent.
Yeah.
But they kind of started there. I was bringing out Brandon T. Jackson. I was doing shows with Monique. And it seems so surreal to say it because, like, it's like I'm old, but I'm not old. I'm like old in poetry years. But I think that the not knowing and having no expectations, but being able to say, this is what my goal is. So I knew from, like, the very beginning, like, if you're going to do this, you're going to be able to buy a house and you're going to be able to buy a car and you're going to do this. So I just added some of those other elements that I feel like a lot of artists shy away from. Like, artists are scared to say that they're here to make money because they think that it takes away from you being authentic. And there's a way to stay true to your story, to be authentic, but to also say, I got to keep the lights on and I got to put some other artists on and I got to be a person that uses my network and uses my resources, to full capacity. So, like, we did used to have so much fun. Just, we got to show up and we got to drink whiskey and we got to just do random poems that we just wrote that afternoon. But for me, it was like, okay, but there's something bigger. Because I've seen it with New York, because I've seen it with California, because I've seen it in all of these other spaces that I've been to. So I think the ignorance was a very fun way that led a lot of us to success because we didn't look at the wall and say, I have to do it exactly like this. It was like, okay, I can follow some of this, but I get to add to it too.
And I mean, and you and so many others, like when you talk about like more, I think definitely more in that arc of hip hop, but everyone leans in there. But like, and another good Detroit is different, but Brent's interview, but even like, even further back, Gabby's interview and like really what her and Sheezy Bobeezy started as like a collective house for artists to come in a whole different perspective of what success looks like, but that begins her on a path of like, okay, well, we can use this resource and pour into this resource and rebuild this resource. And like, it's like a whole world of people that probably don't even know her as a spoken word artist and like that work and like what was done there. And this is just examples, but it's so many more examples of what was birthed, like starting there and opened out and became like gateways to so much more. To like, I mean, I even remember the night when Fluent and Sugar Ray were like doing like a poetry night at like a club, you know what I'm saying? Because that was
like an actual banging club.
So it was like, what? You know what I'm saying? Because that was the way of like, oh, we need people to come here. And I mean, it's not like the rest of the world in this time is not moving forward. I mean, people still, playing Jeezy and everything else. You know what I'm saying? So
Friday
life is happening,
like,
but that was the gateway to get a lot of culture in the city of Detroit.
Yeah. And I mean, I love Detroit. Obviously, I'm still here, but Detroit is so experimental. But also, so many fusions exist because the reality is one of the main reasons that I feel like people live and die for the city is because it's real people here. So going back to even like losing my brother, me and my brother were the same, but we were different. He was one of the biggest, what you would claim is like street people that like you would have known that we were brother and sister, but you would have also not known we were brother and sister. It was just like, oh, this is CJ, this is kind of crazy. But the thing is, like, we're all so authentic and real that I can go and do a poem in a bar, and then I can also go and take shots with the people at the bar afterwards. So it's like we just exist across so many planes, and we're not afraid to like actually experiment and see how far this thing can take us. So you'll get a Fluent and a Sugar Ray. Like I will go do a show at the Bronx, right?
Mhm.
But then I'll also go be on stage with Mumford& Sons for 40,000 people
Yeah.
the next night, and then I'll also go in karaoke with my family
Yeah.
the night after that. Then I also, like, so we get to exist in so many planes, whereas, like, there's a lot of other places where you just get stuck in one box.
Yeah.
And we as Detroiters will never do that, and we have
Uh,
never done that. It's
it's it's the title of this.
Yeah.
It actually started like my homie Brandon. It was like Detroit's different. He's like, nah, make it Detroit is different, but it is. So it's like, and I often tell people, I'm like, when people say, man, it's like this, there, and that, like everything probably darker that you hear about Detroit, that's here. And probably all this stuff you don't expect to be here, that's here too.
Yeah.
And sometimes they intersect like in the same
It
arc of like, I remember because the Muslim Center, which is it's like very Muslim Center is a center for definitely obviously people, but many Sunni Muslims that are black in the Detroit community. And I want to say like it's walking distance from my house.
Yeah.
So in that same walking distance from my house, I remember like one of the biggest street rappers at the time, like back in the 2000s, they was like, man, you know, he a Muslim in that. I'm like, yeah, man. It's like, I've seen him over there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also, things that he's referencing in his records, I would not necessarily say that that's not true either. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But it depends on like the plane which you meet somebody and how you connect and where you connect. But it's Detroit.
It's it is different. And I think it's the perfect title, to be honest. Because that you have to be here to know.
Yeah.
You know how many people I brought in from around the world
Mhm.
who heard all of these stories about Detroit,
Mhm.
and then when they finally get to Detroit, they're like, "This is like nothing
Mhm.
that I've heard, nothing that I've imagined." Like, you just have to
Mhm.
think about the how many cultures exist in Detroit. How many areas are different but still the same in the quality of people. How you just said, like, I could be a Muslim, I could have
Mhm.
my faith, and then I could also go out to Minnie's at the end of the night. Like,
Yeah.
I just did the show, this morning with the mayor and the governor, and then me and Phoenix and my partner and her partner, we went to Cutter's.
See,
And
there you go.
like, we just
Yeah.
it can all exist and it can all
Mhm.
work together, and it is different because people are
Mhm.
used to, again, they have certain modes and certain boxes they exist inside of. But in Detroit, it's like I could be a poet and a playwright. I
Mhm.
could be a playwright and a hip hop artist. I
Mhm.
could be a podcaster and a chef. I could be like, we allow people the space to genuinely explore whatever their talents and their passions are. And I would never leave Detroit.
I love it. And now I guess that goes to like more of a traditional Detroit is different questions. Now I gotta kind of go in this same arc. So HP is like the roots of a whole lot of the family. Do you consider that like when you think back of like my neighborhood I grew up in, do you consider HP that?
Ah, yes and no.
Okay.
Probably 8, 9, 10,
Mhm.
11, 12, maybe Highland Park.
Okay.
Then my mother, she moved us almost to, like, the Southwest area,
Mhm.
and then we moved on Broad Street in Davison,
Mm.
and I feel like I went to Winterhalter,
All right.
played basketball
Okay.
there, and then transitioned, in high school. I kinda jumped high schools. I went to
Mhm.
Northern, I
Uh.
went to Central, I
Wow.
went to Henry Ford, and I
Wow.
played basketball, like, everywhere that I
Everyone you play,
went.
you was on the
I
hoop
played
squad.
basketball every
Okay.
single I used to be in the papers, like, every single week. Not as good as some of my
Okay.
friends, but still there.
Mhm.
So I think if I'm reflecting on my childhood, yes, Highland Park, 100%. But when I started to come into some sort of autonomy,
Mhm.
it was more like Davison, Broad Street, Dexter, but yeah, I don't know. It's, to me, wherever my family was.
Okay.
Wyoming. But then
Mhm.
I think the most coming of age for me was Joy Road.
All right.
So my auntie lived on Penrod and Joy Road.
Mm.
That was more so where My brother kinda, in his own way, ran the neighborhood. You know, we was at the Murder Mac before people was scared to go to the Murder Mac, or even when they were, we was still eating at the Murder Mac. This was like, strip clubs on off Joy Road
Mhm.
days. So I think my coming of age was actually Joy Road,
Okay,
Exit 9 off the freeway.
and of that, also got KDZ. Imma get the KDZ
Yes.
interview this year, and I think for most people, that album is, like, where most people, like, identify that as the
Uh-huh.
Murder Mac when they're, like and Exit 9 clearly, because
That
anybody
was our
knows in my
exit.
hood, but people that were already familiar with it, it's like, "Oh, this just
That's
is sharing information that you knew."
Yeah, that's just what we did.
Yeah, it's like you knew that, like, for people that kinda know, if you're not from Detroit, I would say that it's like, Belle Isle is a beloved asset
Yeah.
wherever, however,
Mhm.
throughout. But, on the east side, you got Chandler Park, and on the west side, you got Rouge. Now,
Yeah.
connecting to Rouge, you could go a couple different ways. If you
Yeah.
go down Joy Road, you definitely wanna make sure, however you get out, if you don't know people in that neighborhood or whatever, and not like the danger of stuff, just
You
the
just gotta know who you know.
yes, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Eh
My brother and my cousins, they had like the red and green Marauders with the spinning wheels
Uh-huh.
that everybody used to see. And it's funny because KDZ was a friend of my brother's. And I
Mm,
remember when my brother passed away,
mm,
uh, KDZ was locked up.
mm,
And then I randomly just ran into him at a club one
mm,
night, and we ended up talking, and he's like, "Man, yeah, I heard that your brother died, while I was locked up," and, that shit actually made me cry.
mm.
But then he also happens to have like, we have other
Yeah.
connections too, but my brother was the biggest connection, but
Mm.
yes, I mean, everywhere you go can be dangerous. Again, I spent so much time in Hawaii, and it's like, but if you go to that area and you don't know these people, it could be a
Yeah.
little bit of dangerous, a little bit of danger. But even the Murder Mac, I'm like, first of all, the Murder Mac has the freshest fries that I've ever eaten from a McDonald's.
Hilarious,
And clearly,
hilarious.
I've never been killed there. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I mean,
could
most
be a little
people
bit of
is
my brother,
yes.
but also like, you just don't go to places and do shit you ain't supposed to be doing.
Yes, I
And
would say, possibly it's more, the timeliness of how you gonna order things, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But,
exactly.
like, I guess it
Yeah.
would be kinda like the Popeyes Got Roaches by Chandler Park
Yeah.
that, G. Mac
Yeah.
Cash made the
Yeah, and it's also like, well, you talking about like not knowing what you don't know and ignorance being bliss. It's
Uh,
like when you just grow up in that neighborhood, everything seems normal. So
yeah,
I used to go into that gas station all the time, get my
yeah,
snacks, get the McDonald's, walk past it, drive up to it, whatever
mhm,
it was. Like
yeah,
it's never been a danger to me, but also it's never had a reason to be a
yeah.
danger to me because I was from there. So it's
Even, it kinda in that same, community, like, this is before it becomes like a Detroit franchise, but even, like, starters. So, like,
yeah.
the starters that most of us think of is like, oh, the original starters.
Y I mean, the Plymouth starters,
Yeah.
that's still the best starters. I'm like, you take it downtown, you can take it to the mall, kinda closed down, but, but starters was ours. That's where people go and they hang out,
Yes.
and you ain't really hear about many people being killed outside of starters or
No.
having because
That was
these
for
are
the
them
people
your
that were
people. Yeah.
connected there
You
and a part of that neighborhood. It's just like, and
you
that
kinda go where you belong. It's
yeah,
like
yeah, pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah,
And that community, like the kids, like you kind of know it. It has its own arc. I mean, even the nature of Rouge Park in the
yeah,
arc of it, the Buffalo Soldiers and stuff like
yeah, yeah,
it's stuff. I mean, like for the longest. I mean, K9 is you know what I'm saying, like winning boxing belts, but he's still coming playing
yeah.
chess with the old dudes in the
I mean, it's kinda
neighborhood.
like what we do, yeah. I mean, I used to walk to Rouge Park and me and my cousins and go
Mhm,
swimming, and we would walk there from our auntie houses and, no danger was present for us,
mhm.
but also that is an ode to no matter how dangerous you think that Black people can get, and there's a reason as to why we have to defend ourselves and be a little more dangerous. You got all these conversations happening, but Black people do take care of each other.
I would say overwhelmingly, and really, even if you're in another country, kind of like some of it is
Yeah.
just, and this is definitely, I know, like, what would they say, like like the ego of a Detroiter, like you kind of learn how to read certain situations and zones. Like here you go, like you know, you're on the bus with a person that clearly may have, you know,
Some
this
sort
just
of-
ain't their mental day.
Yeah.
You know how to look at a person, but
get
not
out.
stare at a person.
Exactly,
And it's
yeah.
a weird, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
if you, you know what I'm saying? You got to tell like, hey, you know, make sure you peep it, but don't peep it.
Yeah,
And it's like, and that says to the trader, it says like 1,000,001
Yeah.
things. If you're not from here, like, what do you mean peep it, but don't peep it? You mean that I'm
You gotta-
supposed to look at him,
yeah.
but not look at him?
You got to be around it. You got to be aware of your surroundings, but you
Yeah.
ain't got to insert yourself into the surroundings. I mean,
Yeah.
why you see a lot of videos on like TikTok and like all these social media platforms,
Yeah.
and it's always people recording, but it's very rare for in Detroit. It's like, this ain't my circus. This ain't my
Yep.
clown. I need to get out of here.
Yep.
I need to make sure that I'm safe. I don't just want a story to tell. So
Right.
we kind of, 10, 11, 12, we grew up knowing like, pay attention to what's happening around you. But also Detroit is not,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you go has the potential to be violent. But Detroit, I've always said, it's not a lot of random violence.
It's, I mean, it's not a lot of random violence. Usually it's always contextualized, even
You knew
to
somebody
this era.
who knew somebody.
Yeah.
And you were in the wrong place.
And that right there is probably one of
Yeah.
the number one things that can sometimes be tragic, because it's like the person that's most disconnected to whatever's going on, you're at the most heightened version of whatever danger that could be presented to you. So you kind of also got to know how to be like, yep, I'm gonna go in, say what up, and then
I got to get out of here. Like, and it's not even to minimize violence, but for me, I'm like, look, sometimes I go to parties and I leave the car running. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go in, say hi, or sometimes I just don't, because I have a general sense of like what this could entail. And again, does it make it less violent than any other place?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of context to the violence that happens here.
I wholeheartedly agree. And that's where like it's like one of my favorite scenes in Lord knows this is from Boondocks, right? so me and my friend, shout out to Kills, Mayo, it's like his nickname Kills, right? So like it's the episode of Thugnificent, that's like this character that's a rapper, and they like go like they have like the fake sway and they're going through the neighborhood, and they talk about like a guy that gets beat up and shot, and then they like throw up on the guy or whatever, and then Thugnificent is like, and I was looking at him thinking, what did he do? And it's like, it's weird that this, you know what I'm saying? That it's like a context for stuff that, and it's definitely a heart for any harm that any person goes through. But it's also a layer like, I've been here long enough. Something, you know what I'm saying? It's like you get the what happened, like when you hear the news reported, and then you go back to the people that you know that was more around it, and you be like,
I mean, we kind of asked that question, but
it's a layer. It's like, what did they do? And I may not necessarily, back to like, it's a context to this stuff, and I may not agree with it. I remember actually one of the ladies that used to babysit me, as she was getting older, and now, especially like in my caretaking thing, of understanding it, I think she was dealing with like some of the starts of dementia and everything. But as she was getting older, she wasn't as graceful talking to a lot of the neighbors' children and like
and that's kinda how
yelling and shouting and things like that. And it was like to a point where like it went a couple of times. And I remember I get the phone call from like somebody like in my family, like, can you believe they broke in the house? And I'm like, well, word? Like, that's crazy. So then I get back in contact with everybody, and I'm like, look, I don't necessarily think that this is the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like action for reaction.
Yeah.
But it's back to, depending upon who you push the action towards, you don't know how the reaction may come back.
Something happens. There's like that,
can't
remember the name of it, the documentary that we watched on Netflix, and it was with this woman who had some mental, handicaps, and she ended up like murdering the mother of the parents that she kept accusing of playing in her yard.
Yeah, I forget it's like I haven't even watched all of it, but I've started it.
It's bad, and it provides insight, but it's bad at the same time. But the mother didn't do anything, but something happened. The mother was completely, like, in no way
didn't deserve
fault,
anything.
But like, even with the woman who had this probably like early onset of Alzheimer's, like, like she was doing something that provoked and caused a reaction. I remember when not remember, I mean, I'll forever remember it. My brother, when he was murdered,
Mm.
and he was shot 15 times, right? And when I went and sat with the police and, like, trying to unpack and uncover what happened, very I would say rude and dismissive just because of how, some cops operate, and also I'm a sister that lost a brother, but we trying to figure out, like, and unpack who killed him. An officer said, "Honestly, anybody coulda killed him."
Mm.
He's like, "20 people
Mm.
could have killed him." And he started listing off
The list.
all the things my brother was into, which I was privy to. So whereas I'm like, I am this sad, grieving sister,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm sitting there and I'm like,
Yeah,
he
this is
could have
bothering the
did
hell out of me that you even
something.
go into this because the other angle back to like black folks and violence. I hate to always go here. No, I ain't even hating to go there. I'm just going there because I'm going there because
Yeah.
it's real. Like, and we're witnessing more of it, I guess, in this iteration of what's happening from the federal administration. But
Yeah.
America's a very gangster country to begin with. When
I
we
mean, it's
think
how
of
it
the
got
roots of so
started,
many
like,
things, the origins to even the things that happen today.
you kill people to exist here, so it's
Very much so. Like when we really think of like a lot of the way that murder, death, and things are honored just around the concept of violence. Now, we look at the violence connected to a war differently than we look at the violence, I guess, what we would say with a street war. But even in the arcs of it, I always say to myself, like, I still feel like in a lot of street stuff, I still have a better standing even than police. Now, I'm a man in my 40s now. It's a different standing that I have, but still nothing is scarier when I think of it than like like me being in a position where like a white woman says I'm uncomfortable and police are around. Like that scenario right there, even right now, that's scarier than like 5 guys walking up on me with a gun in any hood because I feel like I could.
I'd rather be at the murder Mac with my debit card numbers written on the top of my forehead
Yeah,
than like
than
a
that
white
because
woman
I feel
is
like I could navigate this more so than that because this system doesn't have a context of knowing who I am.
Because one is a baseless war.
Yeah.
It's just like inherently, I'm just a dangerous and violent person, and I want to see people of color not exist.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one has some basis to it, and that doesn't excuse violence, but this is impoverished neighborhoods. These are people that have been violated. These are people who are, trying to make a life for themselves in a way that is not presented to them legally. These are at least you have some sort of justification for why the thing happened. And I think that typically becomes the difference for me in a lot of people of color and violence, amongst like black people. They're like, you can at least have some sort of why. You don't have to agree with it because violence is violence. I mean, I think white people will kill you over spelling the wrong name in Scrabble, and they'll kill a whole goddamn family and then burn all y'all bodies. It's like you're just inherently violent, whereas black people are trying to get to something, improve something, and that doesn't excuse all black violence because some shit is just fucking random. But at the end of the day, I think that you have some comfort in knowing, well, why did this happen? So again, going back to my brother, it's like when he said that these many people could have done these things, but then in understanding that, okay, at some point my brother may have done some things, does not excuse his death. And if I could bring him back today, I would, in any way. But that small part of comfort in knowing something may have been the cause and something could have been the effect versus just being like, when you can't explain violence and you can't explain death and you can't explain murder, it makes the grieving process a lot harder.
I think very much so. I think two things in grief that first off, the older I've gotten, the more I have a context that like it's a lifelong process. Like you're going to live with it. And I often always uplift if you have, and this is where like a violent act really is tougher because like watching someone die of like whatever a health condition, I'm not necessarily saying that that's peaches and cream, but you can kind of like move in a direction of what's happening, the more unresolved anything is, the tougher it is. And that's why I always look more so and tell people, like, you want to at least be as peaceful on terms with whomever you cross paths with, because nothing will be worse than like the last conversation. It don't even necessarily got to be an argument. It could have just been a like, yo, all right, I'll just get up with you tomorrow. If that tomorrow never comes, it'll be in your head.
Yeah. I think one is like you have the anticipatory grief when somebody is like
health conditions,
dealing with like a terminal illness. So, which I don't even know, in the realm of grief that I've kind of, opened myself up to, I don't even know if it's better, right? Because like you spend so much time knowing that a person is going to die, but you do also have time to find a point of acceptance. But I on both ends, when somebody dies versus somebody dying, they're very different. It's like even if I spent 2 years knowing that you were going to die and you die, it almost does feel the same way as a surprise death. I think it's just the violence sometimes that causes a lot that makes the grief look different. Because then when you have violence that happens and takes out somebody that you love, I think you then have to consider who you are as a person. So you have to deal with the grief, but you have to deal with the anger. You have to sit and say, do I want somebody dead? Do I want somebody in jail? Do I want to murder somebody myself? Whereas you passed away because you were dealing with cancer or, like these, lighter things happen to you. But over here, I think it's harder because you have to question, who am I in this moment now? And I found myself being like, I don't think that I am nonviolent in any way. I'm just not a fighter, but I don't know if I believe in nonviolence at this stage in my life. But at some point, I had to consider, like, if I found out the person that killed my brother and you put a gun in my hands, will I murder the person? So many like unanswered questions about who you are, I think, present themselves in this moment, and that makes it very hard to just be a grieving person. So I think grief is tricky.
And I have to add this layer because never someone that close, but definitely someone I grew up with and like in this neighborhood. And I think that his murder that was maybe about 13 years ago still has such impacts on my neighborhood. Like to the point where the RIP, his name still will get spray painted like on the same, a couple liquor stores when they even paint over it all the time. The other layer that really exists there is the other people trying to like get to know it. That definitely happens with the health thing now. And I haven't watched the new Chappelle thing, but I guess like people talk about like, did they try this and did they try that? Which that's an art. But in the violence thing, this is kind of like growing up where you grow up, you kind of got to know that, some things you just don't ask. And I had, it's so funny, rest in peace to my mother, because it was one of the times when my mom was like, oh, don't you want to find out? I'm like, Ma, certain things you just can't ask.
No.
And this is where like you're possibly coming from like a sense of like having a good heart or anything like that. But when you grow up adjacent and have a more understanding of a lot of like what I call it, like I call it the black collar trade, you can't ever ask what, who, how, when, did you know, and all of that. You kind of just got to sit and be welcome to whatever that family member or that close person shares, even about a person going to jail, which I know I've had some very tougher discussions with people too. It's like, I can't ask what, where, when, why, how. Like, you just kind of got to welcome whatever they want to give, even if it don't make sense. And just be there, because that can be just as like you just go from like like I was just offering support, and it's like, why they got a gun in their face? And then you be like, what did they do? And it's like, okay, this is part of the chaos of stuff that like understanding the context, when and where, and like that can really weigh, because it's so many people that naturally the first thing we see is what, where, and when, especially like in violence is a part of our entertainment. Like, it's like a TV show to some people. It's like, what? How? Could we find out? And you know what I'm saying? Like, next year we gonna be down with the Crime Stoppers. And it's like,
No.
I mean,
come
not
on,
really.
like, in this age of social media too, like there's a part of knowing that makes some people feel more comforted. It's like, oh, did he go outside on 6 Mile and get hit by a bus? Oh, that could never happen to me. Oh, did somebody blow up his house in the middle of the night? Oh, I'm not involved in that type of thing. So there's one part where it's like there is some comfort in knowing, but also social media, we're too fucking nosy.
Yeah.
Some things you just don't need to know, but then you have to ask the right questions of not how did he die or who do you think killed him, but if you're close to a person, maybe it's, am I in danger? Do I need to worry about anything? Because it's annoying. Just like, if I didn't tell you how he died, maybe you just don't need to know. If I didn't tell you what he went to jail for, maybe you don't need to know because it doesn't present any imminent danger to you and your lifestyle. But then it's also the other aspect of if you are close, if you do feel connected, when you get the answers, now you left with the burden of what do you do with them?
And that becomes tough too. Because like a question like, am I in danger? Like, for real. And that's a real question. But then the other side of it is that's going to lead to more questions.
Yeah.
And that's going to pull you further into a realm of a world that clearly you probably weren't really in.
No. You put yourself in danger now.
Yeah. And the more you go down there, it just becomes more... Yeah, like you say, it just becomes
now
it's gonna paranoia you a whole lot more.
Once you have the answer, you have to figure out what do you do with the answer, which is why you should figure out why you're asking the question in the first place. Do I need to know if I'm in danger, or am I actually going to be moved to action to do something? And that now you open yourself up to a completely different world. I think even, and I mention it a lot because it was a part of my story. Once the police said what they said, there are a lot of ideas and there's a lot of theories and there's a lot of things that I could probably put together on a bulletin board and try to figure out what actually happened to my brother. And I think that I will be intelligent enough to probably crack the case myself.
Yeah.
But when
you drive down that street,
what do I do with it now?
Yeah.
Am I going back to the police?
Yeah.
Do I feel enraged? Do I and different people, they respond to things different ways. I think for me, especially with raising my nephew, there has to be a lot of peace involved in that.
Yeah.
It's like, do I now want to put myself in a position to take me away from you because I'm going down this rabbit hole and chasing pretty much something that already happened. There's nothing that I can do at this point that will bring my brother back to this earth, right? And is there a point of justice that I would like to be seen for somebody to go to jail, for somebody to be held accountable? But what does that do for me? What does that do for my mother? What does that do for my nephew? What is that? I think that the important question is like, if I get the information, what the fuck do I do with it?
That is, and I mean, we're talking here, but I think sometimes that's a big question with so many other things in life too.
Yeah.
So many other things
art,
in life.
I mean, life, once you get it, what do you do with it? And do you want to do anything with it?
Which actually leads me to another, I know this is like a whole nother term, but it's deep because you've reached a lot of plateaus in artistry. Where like this was the goal and I want to get there. And you already uplifted so much of like, okay, I don't see it's like, it's often even said tongue in cheek, a starving artist, a struggling artist, like this journey of struggle and artistry coming together, because struggle is like, I guess the inspiration for artistry.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, like in that journey, people say, okay, I want this, and this. Then you get all of that. And so often the destination can be the motivation. And I can't think of any person that really drills that home. And I like got to recenter myself in this all the time, even with what this is. Like when you surpass where that destination is, how do you stay creative? What becomes that inspiration? And how do you like just more so strip yourself instead of like a destination being the goal and more the journey itself, the Sterling
Yeah.
Toes approach, I guess, to artistry,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Look, I think that I laugh about this a lot, and like we started off with, I'm a Capricorn,
Mhm.
so everything that I do, and it's not limited to Capricorns, because I know some
Mhm.
Capricorns who are complete bums, and I know some who are we're different, right?
Yeah.
Um, I do have my goals,
Mhm.
and I like to meet my goals. I like a lot of structure. I spent time, growing up playing basketball. Post basketball, I went to the Air Force, so I was in the military. Post that, I found this world of poetry, and it's funny because I was sitting down with Phoenix after, our show earlier,
Mm.
and we were talking about like, artists who never have enough.
Yeah.
Um, and how exhausting and, unfulfilling that could be. I think that ever since I was young, I knew what kinda life I wanted to have. Like, I'm not a car person. I've been
Uh-huh.
driving the same car for, at this point, since my brother passed away. I
Wow.
had that car since 2013,
Wow.
and my nephew was like, "Auntie, when are you getting another car?"
Hilarious,
Right? Just a
hilarious.
Dodge Dart,
Uh-huh.
but I also have a five-bedroom house with 3
Yeah.
floors and a fireplace and,
Mhm.
everything automated and all the things, because 'cause I've always been a house person.
Yeah.
So I've kinda, decided on the things that I want, and I'm a traveling person,
Mhm.
so I like to travel,
Yeah.
but I've been afforded the luxury of traveling through poetry. I like taking care of my nephew. I like being able to let my cousins use my house and buy my aunties, my uncles Christmas gifts.
Uh-huh.
I don't like to be a bottomless pit.
Mm.
It's just certain things I like to do. I like to have my gym membership at Lifetime Fitness. I like to I cook and I eat. I like to be able to go and cook and eat what I like to cook and eat. I like to be able to put a trip on the books here and there, pay my phone bill, pay my mortgage, and like buy good socks.
Mm.
So like I'm always striving to do something more expansive
Mm.
than the last thing that I've done, but it's rarely ever financially motivated. I know what my price is.
Yeah.
I know what I'm willing to take. I know what people are going to offer me.
Yeah.
Like Phoenix was she keeps laughing and she was saying, "I'm gonna be more gentle
Mm.
with you today at dinner," because she just realized that out of all the years that we've known each other since I was 20, that I'm a shy person.
Mhm.
Right. So I don't even like the spotlight. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm even on a podcast. Like
Yep.
even though I produced 2 podcasts,
Uh-huh.
I don't even like talking to people,
Yeah.
so I like to get in, do my poem, do my show, and just, like, disappear.
Mhm.
So I think that, but again, it's different for me because, like, I keep saying I have a good family,
Mm.
and that's all I've ever, like,
That's beautiful.
right? Like, we karaoke together, we spend a night together, we FaceTime each other, we, like, like, I have a good relationship with my nephew,
Mm.
and, like, I've done so many things that I never thought that I would do, from, like, a, Sprite commercial, a
Mm.
Ford commercial, buying a house with poetry, like, all the
Yeah.
things, but, like, I don't need to go past where I'm at. I just need to be able to sustain the life that I have
I
and
got you.
pass it on to my nephew and have him in a situation to where if, and when something happens to me, he can live a good life as well. But I've already started him off into living a good life. So I guess, like, I just try not to be a bottomless pit. I
Wow.
try to just, like, I just enjoy watching, like, murder mystery documentaries on my couch and making some good beef ribs and laughing with my nephew, and it might all sound, cliche, but I really don't require, there's certain things
Much.
I do require,
Mhm.
like, I require good food,
Yeah.
I require good socks, I require structure, my house has to be almost militantly clean, which my shout out to my auntie who is my cleaning lady to this day.
Okay. That's what's up.
So yes, I have a lot of requirements in that regard, but, I don't know, I've never, and I'm a get money type person. Like,
Mhm.
my friends will tell you, I'm like, "You better turn that pain into some dollars," right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
but I'm not, I guess money and success, they've never been the driving point,
Mhm.
so that allows me to be creative.
So in that same creativity, where do you see like now, like when you sit down and you're thinking like, okay, this is what I want to craft next. This is the next story. You spoke about, and already I
Mm.
definitely would love do, I don't even know what we could do, but put Detroit is different down for when
Some
Carlito drops. I want to be
Yes,
in the
Raise the
mix of
Carlito.
like
Okay.
something
Mhm.
in it,
Mhm.
you know, even on stage, like, yo, I was there when
Do it.
this whole
Yes,
thing
yes,
kind of came to
yes.
life, and I was like, yo, this is gonna be different. So
Mhm.
I definitely want to see that and be a part of whatever could be done creatively there. But what are the next projects? What are the arts? Like, how do you go about like, I want to try this?
Oh, so if my partner was here, like, you know, they tell you like how I am.
Yep, you
any
get a
s-
whole nother perspective.
Yeah, anytime I have an idea, I see it through. Like I can just
Wow.
wake up in the middle of the night and be like, you know what, tomorrow I want to do this, and I actually start to do it. Doesn't mean it's all successful, but I'm
Yeah.
going to try to rock the boat. So a few things that I'm working on. Speaking of podcasts, I'm actually working on a podcast called "Fuck Them Kids,"
Hilarious.
and yes,
I
and
can. It's gonna have a heck of an audience already.
yes. So we do this convening at my house every month. It's myself, it's LaShawn Phoenix Moore, it's Brent Blacksmith, it's Capelli,
Okay.
it's my partner is my friend Whitney Johnson, who is
Alright.
a playwright and actress. And we all come and we sit around my table.
Uh-huh.
And like at first I would just cook dinner because I'm like I'm probably a better cook than I am a poet.
Okay, I definitely, now
Everybody
that
has
has
to come.
be
You has to like, yeah. Like people are like literally people they see me cooking, they're like, wait, so
Okay.
you made all 20 dishes on the table? Like
Oh, here we
Capelli thought
go.
that I was getting things like
Like, you was getting, like, drop shipped?
no, I was like, no, I make all of this.
Like,
So
yeah.
yeah, so we sit
Uh-huh.
there and we just dream up things together.
Okay.
And even since the inception of this, Phoenix and Whitney has worked on a play that
Okay.
came to fruition at the Charles H. Wright. Me and Phoenix, I just got her on the show today. We have a show with Mark. Like we work together.
Yeah.
So me and my partner, we just was at home one day and like, and I don't smoke weed, but we did an edible.
Uh-huh.
And like we were laughing because we have 4 kids in between us now. My nephew, she has 3,
Uh-huh.
and we were just laughing and joking about like fuck them kids.
Mhm.
And I was like, we should do like a camp at my house, like fuck them
Hilarious.
kids. I have all of the space. And then I went further and I was like, we should do a podcast. And it's really so we talked about doing a podcast, and then the next convening, Phoenix and Whitney and a couple other people were there, and we were like, yeah, so we had this idea, and they were like, that's fucking gold. Like you
Hilarious.
have to do the podcast. But essentially, the podcast is you can only say fuck them kids if you love your kids.
Yeah.
And then we want to structure it in a way where we're providing like resources for parents who are experiencing parenting and thinking like I am alone. So it's like maybe one season is about like, you know, kids who have like, you know, mental or physical disabilities. Maybe the other season is about kids who are just fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about teenagers, but it's providing a space for parents to not feel like I'm the only one dealing with this. And me and my nephew, like we locked in like twins.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking over the last like, you know, 17 years, because I was there from day
Yeah.
one, even before my brother passed away. And it's been times where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Fuck this kid.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, Shaka Shangor and shout out to Shaka, who, you know, Literary Lounge just opened the Michigan Central train station, was on tour, you know, with Oprah promoting his book. He's one of the first stories that he sent us. So we have like the email open for people to actually like send us stories. And we'll just go to like random places and we're talking to parents. And it always ends when they're talking about their kids like, fuck them kids.
Hilarious.
So it's like, so we're working on a
Yeah.
podcast. I'm working on something called The Final Exchange. And The Final Exchange, and it is to one of the conversations we were having earlier, is it's the last conversations that you had with people before they passed away. And it's not even about, like, again, terminal illness. It's like somebody they passed away last night. But it's like, what are the text messages? What are the voicemails that they left? What are the... Because when people pass away, a lot of people, you know, we go online and we're like, well, I was just talking to him. I was just talking to her. I think it's one, people trying to prove like their proximity and like they're trying to help people to understand that they deserve to be grieving based off of how close they were to a person. And I think the rest of it could just be trivial and taboo. It's just like, I just had a conversation with the person. So the second step in that is to teach people how to archive these conversations. So it's like, if I lose my iPhone or I change iPhones and I no longer have a voicemail that my auntie left me 6 months ago, or if the Facebook and social media shuts down and I no longer had these inbox messages or whatever it is, it's easy for it to get lost. But then you also get to introduce people to the person that you lost and that you love.
Yeah.
So I think for me, but I'm always moving. I don't know. I think the final exchange, the fuck them kids,
I like
the raising Carlito that I've been using my house is just like a performance space. Now I'm transitioning into a residency space, but like I don't know. If I have a thought, it like I'm usually asleep by like 9 and 10 p.m. every night. I am not the person that can survive.
Hilarious.
And if you see online, people laugh at me. All my cousins, they're like, even if I have a party at my house, I'm the first person that goes.
That's a very as I'm gonna say a Kari Capricorn thing.
Yeah, okay, you get it. I'm like,
oh yeah. I this is a rule that always people be like, what you mean? Like usually I'm just giving you all a rule. I got a 45 to 90-minute window wherever I go.
Yeah,
if I'm at a place longer than 91 minutes, it's I am enthralled in what I am, or I feel like, okay, whatever connection I got going on with somebody else here, which shout out to Fluent, because I was just there at the Stack Poetry Slam.
Yeah, no. Okay,
so I got mad love for you, Fluent.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that my show today was like 10 a.m. because like an evening show is difficult to get me out at. But the parties happen at my house.
Oh, I
go to bed at my own house.
I do fight night here at the crib. So like at the studio. So fight night, it's been many a times where at the end of the bell ring, I'm like, yo, I'm about to, y'all know how to do it. Y'all, they be up till 4 o'clock pontificating about God knows what.
Yeah, my cousins,
I don't know.
They're like, when I wake up the next day, because I'm usually my partner laughs, like I haven't used an alarm clock like since we met. I just get up. Like I'm just, my body's just 6, 7, 8, I'm up, right? And then I'll get up, and if like one cousin stayed over or something, I'm like, what time did y'all party till last night?
Hey,
they're like, we stayed till 6 a.m.
Yep.
I'm like, I went to bed at 7:48.
Hilarious.
I'll text my aunties, and my aunties, like, one is about to be 70, the other one is like 68, my mom is 63. I just texted them, we had a Galentine in my house on Saturday, and I went to bed first, and I was like, and I pushed it to the limit, because I didn't go to bed until 12:22.
Oh, yeah.
And that is maximum capacity.
That's like the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, right. And I text my auntie, and I was like, what time did y'all leave the house? She said, we didn't leave till 2. So my 70-year-old aunties can stay up later than I stay up. But in the time that I'm falling asleep early, I'll go upstairs and I'll like snuggle up in my bed. I'm like a very cozy person. So I have a heating pad, a heating blanket, a heating mattress. I'd be like all the things, right?
All the things.
Yeah. And then I'll have this idea. And the next day, I wake up and I'm like, I think I should do this.
Yeah.
And then I actually just go start the thing.
That is, I like that arc of that creativity in that creative space, because I do think upon waking up when you have those thoughts, it's something about that. And sometimes I remember, like, sometimes I jot or whatever, and you piece it together, it seems chaotic, especially like if you ever had like the notepad by your bed and you still sleeping.
I open up the notes app and I'm just like,
oh, okay, yeah. You be sleep and then you look at it like, what type of scribble scrabble is this?
What was I talking about last night? But you just gotta have that one one thread where it's like, I remember this part, and I'll like, because I think those are the times where like I'm not forcing the inspiration. It's like when I did the science of grief at the DIA, in the middle of the night, I just had this idea to do this 24-hour program where people came and they discussed whatever grief it was they were experiencing over somebody that they lost. And it seemed crazy. It was just in the middle of the night, because I was like, I want to call somebody and talk about my brother. But he had been gone for like 6 or 7 years. I'm like, nobody wants to hear this in the middle of the night, right? But I started to think about like, what about all the other people who feel the same way I feel right now? And I presented it to the DIA the very next day, and ended up doing that show 3 or 4 years at the DIA, which then turned into the NPR podcast, Science of Grief, that won a Best Use of New Media in its first year, that then turned into Tracked and Trace. But just like, I never sit on an idea.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't, But I feel like I only get inspired by things I'm really inspired by. So I'm not a person that just has, like, a bunch of random ideas, but sometimes, like, when it hits me, the very next day I wake up and I'm like, "All right, guess what?
I
We're
like
gonna do it."
I like that. I like that energy, and definitely that's gonna be. I already know when I chop reels up, that's going to end up being a reel. And for those that watched it, yeah, get inspired and get it out there. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, and that's always the other battle we have as artists. Like after we craft it and I put it in the world, does it more so? Is it like of the world or is it of me? I'm one that kind of believe it's kind of
And it
of
could be
both.
both.
Yeah, that's kind
It
of
could
where
be a
I'm at.
both.
Yeah,
And once you put it out into the world, it doesn't have to be the final iteration of
yeah,
anything. There's
yeah.
poems that I wrote 10, 12 years ago, and I can still perform those poems, but then I can upgrade and update the poem. It's like I did the Science of Grief, that was just this program at the DIA, but again, that turned into a podcast. It's now turning into the Final Exchange. It's like,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have to get it out there because that's accountability. Once you say you're gonna do it, so once I said, "Fuck them kids, this is the podcast," and then Shaka took time out of his taking photos of
God
Oprah and
knows. Yeah,
touring and sent me this actual, story about, his son. Now I gotta do the podcast.
yeah.
So once you put it out there, it makes you feel like I
I
can't
gotta
backtrack.
act on it.
And sometimes you just gotta act on it because the more you sit on it, it does nothing. You could upgrade and fix and navigate along the way. It doesn't have to be the finished product, but it has to be something that you feel like will get people involved in at least the idea and then support you in it. Like, all right, you don't have this, fully thought out, but how can I partner and support you in this? And it's okay for things to be messy. I mean, going back into grief, that's what grief is. It's okay to say, this ain't done yet. The work is still happening. I just want to put it out there because you got to do test runs. You're not just going to drop a Detroit versus everybody shirt and then millions of people are going to buy it just because you just dropped it. You got to put it out there, have some people buy it, have some people promote it, have some people say, change the design. It takes work, but I don't sit on an idea.
I
I just do shit.
I love that, and I also would add, even in it, that classic Kari interview, that sometimes, um, sometimes as you put things into the world, the response that you think you're gonna get is not the response that comes back, and it can change even the journey of even where the artistry goes.
Mhm.
Because I'm sure, I mean, just knowing your story, I know you know this, especially like earlier on with it, like the people drawn to what you deliver, it's not like you sometimes go in thinking that, oh, like, oh, they're gonna love this,
Mhm.
and they don't connect with it at all.
No.
And it's a whole audience of like, you'd be like, what?
You don't like that?
They
Shit.
like this?
I mean, because when I do poetry and people love that I perform poems, but then I start talking about grief, and the audience from poetry didn't necessarily follow me into the body of grief work. Like it's just
Yeah.
and also it's just trial and error.
Uh-huh.
Like some people don't like this new thing because they simply don't connect with it, or sometimes you just have to upgrade it and do better. And sometimes shit just don't work. It's
Yeah.
like I tried it.
Yep.
Making shirts ain't my ministry.
Yeah.
Let me go back into doing poetry. Let me go back into this.
Mhm.
But like, what do you lose by trying a whole bunch of different shit? You won't be
Nothing.
here one day. You tried your best. You just like be experimental.
And then also, I mean, people probably seen it, but the searching for Sugar Man thing happens too. It's like it'd be some shit you did years ago, and then out of nowhere,
Bam.
you'd be like, "What the hell?" So
You're like,
somebody
"That just
walk up
popped
to
up?"
you like, "Hey man, you was rapping on this song," and it's like,
Right.
"What?"
You check your bank account,
Damn.
you got a $10,000 check from a poem you did 18 years ago that somebody just randomly uploaded on YouTube that you
Yeah,
thought was a
and then
failure.
it catches like, yeah, you'd be like,
Yeah.
"I didn't even see this connection." You
At
know what I'm
all,
saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, years ago, this is actually one of the first arcs. Of like, damn, more people watching this than ever. But
Yeah.
I interviewed. It used to be this thing called Tech Economy that used to come to Detroit, but I interviewed Andrew Yang. For Detroit is different back then because Tech Economy was here. So like when he was running for president, like those years ago,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like thousands of views, and there was people even from Detroit, like, you know Andrew Yang, and I'm
Yeah.
like, who the hell is Andrew Yang? And it's
You
like,
got to go back like,
oh,
this guy right
that
here.
guy.
'Cause it's a different moment, and now
Yeah.
politics are heightened, and now like sometimes you gotta wait
Yeah.
on your moment. I mean, you even look. I mean,
Yep.
techno has always been big
Yeah.
in Detroit. Like, and I'm friends with John Collins. We just bought the techno exhibition to
Uh-huh.
Michigan State that I was played a large part in. But at the same time, it's people that's still finding out that techno is from Detroit. That techno is as big as it is. You have people like, and Sheaf has always had his moment, but having his moment in the world of techno and house and all, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you might have started 10, 20 years ago. But when people are ready for the moment to happen, the moment will happen. So you look back into the archives, you're like, I got poems right now that's like 3 million views on TikTok, and I don't even really do TikTok, but it's poems that I wrote 20 years ago. I'm like, what?
In that same arc of like that same techno feel, Stacey Hot Wax Sales. Well, Stacey.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the snippets has like so many views when she's talking about the house music origins in the city of Detroit, not the techno origins. And I'm like, you know, I'd have never, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would have never thought that of the reels I cut would have been the one that like just started so many discussions.
You never know, and that's why you just try different shit.
All right. So classic Detroit is different questions. Now as we close out, I think I already know the answer for this one because you kind of already may have gave that. But your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Yes. Actually, I think my very first car was, I know my first car. It was a 2003 red Ford Focus.
Okay.
That was my first car.
Okay.
And I got it, and I moved like a few months after probably like 2 weeks after having it, actually. I called myself moving to Alabama with my god sisters to graduate high school, and I gave a car to my cousin.
Okay.
And then the next day I moved back to Detroit.
Ain't that something?
And took my car back.
Hilarious.
And then I let my brother use the car. And then a motorcycle ran into the car. So the back door was always like crunched in. But I rolled that till the wheels fell off. Then I got a 2007 some black Ford. And then I got my Dodge Dart. That's my baby, and I love it.
There you go.
Took me from college to college to college to college, and it's going to be here until it gives out.
I got you. Where's the first place you went with the Red Fusion?
With the Red Ford Focus?
Rare Focus.
I took it to Henry Ford High School because at that point I was going to Henry Ford
Squad.
Playing basketball. And I had basketball practice, and I was taken to get the car in the middle of the day. I didn't even have a license or a permit. I didn't even know I knew how to drive.
That is an extremely Detroit story.
Yes, it is. And I drove the Ford Focus to Henry Ford to show people like, I'm on the lodge with it, y'all. And I had the car, and like, I have no idea how I made it from the dealership to, and I think I got it from the Ford dealership, like off 8 Mile and Grand River, whatever that was, like, area is. And I drove that car, and my friend's like, you got a car?
Hilarious.
That's when I was hanging out in nightclubs every Saturday, so I was the only one, like, whipping the car to the nightclubs and, like, buying the Absolute, and I was the man back then.
Hilarious. Okay. And here's another thing that we don't notice as Detroiters, but it was actually one of my sister's people. He was like, man, why is there so many car dealerships in Detroit?
Oh, they're everywhere.
But you don't even pay attention to like the corner car dealerships because we've been here for so long.
Yeah.
But if you go to another city and you think to yourself like, damn, I guess it is like.
No, you just see car dealerships like in the burbs in other cities. Like, it's a journey and a destination to go and scope out a car.
Yeah.
In Detroit, you just like drive into Trader Joe's, and then here goes a car dealership.
Yeah, it's like
and then a liquor store and a car dealership, and like but it also is the automotive. Like, this is where we started at. So all them drunk people at Ford and GM and Chrysler, you know, making your cars, they putting them out there.
As
they
work? Say,
we don't know.
Yeah, and like, you know what I'm saying? They be like, you want to know whether your car was made on a Monday or a Friday? Like, it's just like weird Detroit stuff, and like those small lots are like, okay, I'm gonna just get a shooter here or there. Meaning like you gonna get a car, have it for 2 months.
Yeah,
you gonna sell it back to them.
That's crazy.
A to B places. Yeah. Like right now it's tax time. They about to move.
The shooter's about to get to moving. But it don't matter if your car was made a Monday, Tuesday. I know friends who be at work Monday through Sunday, and they drunk every day making y'all cars. I'm like, this is why I'm sticking with the Dodge Dart, because I feel like 14, 13 years ago, that's when the OGs was still at the plants, so they still knew what they were doing. Right now, like they just drinking Patron and putting the tires up under the hood. So I'm like, this ain't. I'm sticking with what I got.
Right,
I would
yeah.
still have that forward focus, honestly, if like
Hilarious.
my brother ain't running into the mud. Like,
All right. So next question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. Woodward and Jefferson get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
oh, I'm definitely playing I Want to Dance with Somebody by
Okay.
Whitney Houston and I Want to Sex You Up by Color Me Bad.
Okay.
100%.
That is
Yes.
you're gonna have people dancing and that's
Yeah.
gonna be like that whole like late 80s, early 90s vibe. Gonna be
yes.
like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's me. I'm like,
Okay.
I don't even listen to music, to be honest.
I got
I
you.
only listen to Whitney Houston and Anita Baker. But
Wow.
yeah, that's it. You know, I got a Whitney Houston mural on my dining room wall. Like I didn't perform like randomly Whitney Houston. I Want to Dance with Somebody in the middle of Italy on a drunk night, just finding going to get a hamburger and find out karaoke was happening and just turned everybody else and everybody out in Italy. But no, I only listen to 2 things.
Okay.
So, but I Want to Sex You Up happens to be my jam. And shout out to Phoenix because we're doing a New Jack Swing show at Charles H. Wright on February 19th. And I think I picked Friday Night Just Got Paid and Poison as my 2 songs. But if I had to play 2 songs, Friday night, you're hearing Whitney Houston and you're hearing I Want to Sex You Up. You
ever hear that one mixtape Nick Speed did? It was like maybe like 8 years ago where they did like the New Jack Kings. Where they recut like I'm gonna send that over your way. And Speed.
I mean, I might have it because like 8 years ago, Nick Speed did a show at Willie's Detroit when Shinola had that store next to Shinola, and he left his backpack there.
Hilarious.
And he still ain't picked the backpack up, which might actually have that mixtape in there. So
that's classic Speed. We love Speed.
Yeah, he just went to New York and like your like backpack is here, so like
I already know I'm getting a bad Speed impression. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna pick it up for sure tomorrow.
And 10
said that
years
probably
later, I'm pretty sure I might have that. But if I don't have it, please send it to me.
Got you.
So yes.
And last question: you could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
If I could rename Woodward after one Detroiter, that's a tough one right there. I would name it after David Blair. But I'll also name it after like Shantae Legacy Leonard. These poets who just like you got Sparrow, you got so many poets that just they created these moments in which we get to live and thrive in.
Yeah.
And they were like, not Sparrow so much, but like people like Legacy was just in the background. Yeah. Like my bio to this day is still the first bio that Legacy wrote for me when I was like 20, so I would give them their flowers.
I'm with that. And definitely when I think of Legacy, it's like hearing her voice, her like joy for just, it seemed like everything. That one, rest in peace Sparrow too, but that one was a tough one.
Just her laugh, just her like her general just excitement for life and never needed to be, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing in the forefront. It was just like, how can I help? But just a good person. A good person, and if anybody deserves something here in this city, it's definitely Legacy.
I love it. I love it. With that being said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was fun.
From the governor to mayor to now you, I'm like,
there we go.
I'm a Detroiter again. Hilarious. And it's like right around the corner from my house, so I'm like, yeah, good, all right.
As I say, you've been kind of in this neighborhood for a long time.
Yeah.
I often say that this is a West Side community with a lot of East Side sensibility.
Because I thought it was East Side at first, and I was like, oh, it's not East Side. But then when I got to the street, I'm like, oh, this is East Side. But I was like, it's different from my West Side, but it's like.
So you see someone else, Cindy, if you watching this one, because she watch a lot of them, when I said, it's like, that East Side, I'll be like, the East Side don't have driveways.
Yeah. Because y'all got driveways. When I pulled up to it, I was like, oh, wait, I could pull into a drive. Oh, okay, all right. I'm like, but let me get back across West Grand, because I'm different.
Hey, I love it. I'm getting a home on the East Side. That's a to-do I'm adding.
On the East Side?
I'm going to get a crib on the East Side, too, just so that I can. So when I tell the jokes, Cindy, I can be like, Cindy, you see, I am of both.
That's different. I just told Tony earlier, I'm getting a house in Hawaii, but like we're on the same page.
There we go. There we go. Depending upon what's going on and the day and the time, I'm pretty sure we could get some of the sand and
let's do it.
And some pineapples, which I love, and we'll have a Hawaii on the East side.
Okay, bring SpongeBob and we got it.
I'm with
yes.
Peace.
Thank you.